One of the heads of the beast had seemed to have a fatal wound, but the fatal wound had been healed. The whole world was astonished and followed the beast. Now, if I was to come up to you and fatally wound you, what does that mean? You're dead. If I came up and fatally wound you, it means that I killed you. You're dead. But if the fatal wound had healed, what does that mean? You're alive again. That there means that there is a resurrection. Can you think of anyone throughout history who has died and raised again? Of course, it's Jesus Christ. This sea beast is trying to counterfeit the work of Jesus Christ in the last days of Earth's history. Can we continue? Is there more evidence? Let's have a look at Revelation 13, verse 4. Men worshipped the dragon because he had given authority to the beast, and they also worshipped the beast, and they asked, who is like the beast? Who can make war against him? Which is quite interesting to me, because one of the words for Jesus in the Bible is Michael. And the word Michael simply means who is like God. So we can see that also with the name. We can see that the name is there as well. That he's trying to deceive people by taking on this name. Alright, let's have a look at one more text. Revelation 13, verse 5. What does this say? The beast was given a mouth to utter proud words and blasphemies, and to exercise his authority for 42 months. Okay. How long is 42 months? Let's work it out. How many months in a year? How many months in 2 years? How many months in 3 years? 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. I've got a girl who's in grade 1, so that's how we do it. Okay. But there's 3.5 years is 42 months. Who else do you know who had a ministry time of 3.5 years? It's Jesus Christ. Can you see what's happening here? So even though there are many animals in the Revelation story, it's not about animals, it's not about beasts and all that. Rather, the message is that there is a counterfeit of Jesus Christ in the last days of Earth's history. And there will be powers, and perhaps even a power, 2 Thessalonians 2, verse 8 and 9, that says that will talk, that will look, that will act like Jesus Christ. This is what the Bible is warning us about. What about the final one? What about counterfeit the Holy Spirit? Well, let's have a look at Revelation 13, verse 1. Let's go over and have a look at the beast of the earth. 13, verse 11. This says this. And then I saw another beast coming out of the earth. He had 2 horns like a lamb, but he spoke like a dragon. Who is known as the Lamb? Jesus is known as the Lamb, so wouldn't this be another one like Jesus? Well, not so fast, because the Lamb beast is like a lamb. Notice the word like. It's not the lamb itself. There is no doubt that the sea beast is a counterfeit of Christ, but I think this beast is more trying to counterfeit the Holy Spirit. After all, isn't the Holy Spirit like Christ? And we read in places like John 14, verse 16, where Jesus says he's going to go away, but in reference to the Holy Spirit, he says, don't worry, I will send you another comforter. I will send you someone who is like me. Jesus is the original comforter, but he said, I will send someone to comfort you in the same way that I do. So then the work of the Holy Spirit is to replace the work of Jesus, and hence he is like the Lamb. And so the Lamb beast of Revelation 13 is like the sea beast. He's still a phony. He's still a counterfeit. Does that make sense? Let's continue. Let's see if we have any more evidence. Let's have a look at Revelation 13, verse 12. He exercised all authority of the first beast on his behalf, and made the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast, whose fatal wound has been healed. It's interesting. This land beast isn't interested in promoting himself. He wants to promote the first beast. He wants to promote the sea beast. And isn't it interesting that John 16, verse 13 tells us that the Holy Spirit speaks not of himself, but rather he speaks of Christ. And so it is therefore clear that the dragon, the sea beast and the land beast together are portrayed as a deliberate parody or a counterfeit of the true Godhead. So there's three evidences that we have there. What about any more? Let's have a look. Revelation 13 verse 13. This is what it says. And he performed great and miraculous signs, even causing fire to come down from heaven to earth in full view of men. Here we see fire from heaven coming down. Do you remember? Wasn't it the Holy Spirit who brought fire from heaven to earth to anoint the disciples, to anoint the apostles at Pentecost? So what we have here is a counterfeit not only of the Holy Spirit, but we also have a counterfeit of Pentecost itself. Why does fire come down? Why does it come down here? Let's have a look. Revelation 13 verse 14. This is what it says. Because of the signs he was given power to do on behalf of the first beast, he deceived the inhabitants of the earth. He ordered them to set up an image in honour of the beast who was wounded by the sword and yet lived. So let me ask you, why did fire come down from heaven? What's the purpose? What did the text say? To deceive. You see it there? To deceive. The fire comes down. The reason for the fire is to deceive. It's to lead you astray. It's to get you worshipping the wrong thing. It's to get you worshipping the beast. This dragon is up to his old tricks. He's trying to trick you. He's trying to trick you. So Revelation 13 indicates that there will be a great final worldwide deception in which a counterfeit trinity will stand in place of God. And the purpose of the counterfeit is to deceive the world. The counterfeit Pentecost confuses people about the true God and his purpose for the last days. And in the last days of Earth's history, Satan brings deception refined almost to perfection so that people will not be able to tell which side is right, whether they are dealing with Christ or whether they are dealing with Satan. In the last days, things will not be as they seem. Because in the last days, these guys are wandering around saying, no, we are the true God. Follow us. Worship us. Don't worship God. Worship us. I want to leave Revelation 13 for a little bit and go over to Revelation 16 because we see these guys appear yet again. In Revelation chapter 16 and verse 13. And here we read something very interesting. Revelation 16 verse 13. This is what it says. Then I saw three evil spirits that looked like frogs. They came out of the mouth of the dragon, out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. Well, who are the dragon? Who's the beast? And who's the false prophet? Well, it may not surprise you, the dragon is the same dragon that we've been talking about. The beast is actually equal to the sea beast. It's the same beast there. And the false prophet, it tells us in Revelation 19 verse 20, is the same as the land beast. So here we see those three characters again. They are still here. It is what we can call the unholy trinity. But notice that the text talks about that they saw three evil spirits that looked like what? Frogs. Why frogs? Why are frogs in view here? Well, whenever you get stuck in this book, you need to look at this book to realise so it can interpret itself. And the background text here is actually the plagues of Egypt. You remember the plagues of Egypt? They were all there. If you remember that one of those plagues consisted of an overabundance of frogs. But of all the plagues that fell on Egypt, why would frogs come into view? Well, it's interesting. You see, when Moses first came into Pharaoh, God gave him an authority to demonstrate what he and his brother could do, what God could do through them. In fact, let's have a quick look. Keep your finger in Revelation 16 and turn to Exodus 7. I haven't got this on the screen. But Exodus chapter 7, and we can see this quickly, what's going on here. Exodus 7 and verse 8 is on page 50. Verse 8 said, the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, when Pharaoh says to you, perform a miracle, then say to Aaron, take your staff and throw it down before Pharaoh, and it will be a snake. So we see here that that's exactly what he did. So Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and did just as the Lord commanded. Aaron threw his staff down in front of Pharaoh and its officials, and it became what? It became a snake, just as God said it would. But notice what happened. Verse 11. Pharaoh then summoned the wise men, the sorcerers, and the Egyptian